أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله الحجة بن الحسن فداها أرواح العالمين، واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أبد الآبدين ودهر الداهرين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقادا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا نتمتع فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك. قال الله العظيم في كتابه: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: ليس عليكم جناح أن تدخلوا بيوتا غير مسكونة فيها متاع لكم والله يعلم ما تبدون وما تكتمون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Too many verses in Quran talks about houses and when you are allowed to enter a house and when you are not allowed. And actually some of the verses talk about which corridor and which way you have to take to enter the house. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَادْخُلُوا الْبُيُوتَ مِنْ أَبْوَابِهَا, enter houses using doors and not windows. And this is important. So what I can understand of such verses, that back then they used to enter house from everywhere like ants, you know. So show some respect and enter the houses using doors. So what about this verse? Of course, this is a jurisprudential verse, and we so far covered too many verses, jurisprudential verses. I think this class is the 25th, 26th class of this jurisprudential verses classes, but still too many verses to go. And I think, inshallah, we'll keep this class because it is beneficial. Verses, not the class. The verses are beneficial, and we can learn a lot from those verses, especially when we see narrations that explain the verses. So what is the challenge of this verse specifically? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the permission to enter the house or houses that are not lived in. As he says, there is no blame upon you for entering houses not inhabited, in which there is convenience for you, and Allah knows what you reveal and what you conceal. Okay? So I saw some of our scholars, they say that some, and they don't specify who are those some. There are some people who are accusing Quran of letting intruders into his houses by such verses. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ, no problem, no blame upon you to enter a house that is not inhabited. Correct? So this is what they say. So what some scholars say, that this verse is talking about the permission to enter a house that is not inhabited. So you're not bothering anyone. For instance, abandoned houses. I'm not sure if you remember, probably 10, 15 years ago, the recession that happened in the States. Whole villages were abandoned. So if I pass there, am I allowed to enter a house or not? So this verse The apparent meaning of this verse says, yes, you're allowed. Because nobody's there. Okay. And you're not bothering anyone, so you're allowed. To be on the same page before we move, let's see what the two verses prior this verse say and talk about. First verse says, O believers, do not enter houses other than your own houses until you receive a welcome and a greet by the inhabitants. Okay? That is the best for you. So I can remember in our narrations, if you want to enter a house, say Salamun alaykum. And if they say alaykum salam, means a permission. You know? So it was like that back then, at least. Of somebody say welcome, ahlan wa marhaban, means that come in. Okay? So you're allowed. That's an indication that you're allowed to enter that house, correct? So it's about what? Not entering houses without the permission, because people, they might, ladies might be there. They might have some secrets in their houses, and etc. We're not allowed to enter that house without the permission. One of the indications that can show us the permission is Salamun alaykum and the greeting, or Ahlan wa marhaban and welcome. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you do not find anyone therein, do not enter them until permission has been given. Okay? And if they tell you go back, you're not welcome, just go back. Do not enter those houses. هو أزكى لكم. It is purer for you. And Allah knows what you are doing. Wallahu bima ta'amaluna alim. This is exactly what Lady Fatima told those militant and rebels when they came to her house and she did not open the door. This or these verses are enough to prove who is the haqq and who is batil, especially when you put these verses next to that verse in Surah An-Nur when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله. So you're not welcome. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a very strong warning that you're not allowed to enter those houses. And actually it's in Surah An-Nur. This verses as well. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about do not ليس عليكم جناح أن تدخلوا بيوتا غير مسكونة. So the verse number 28 talks about inhabitants' houses, but the owners are not there. Then the next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about houses that are not inhabited. So nobody lives there. Not that somebody's living there, but he's not there at the moment. So there's no contradiction between verse number 28 and verse number 29.
So no, verse number 29, there's no owners, you could say?
Probably there is owners there. No. It doesn't talk about no owner. It talks about no inhabitants. Nobody lives there. Okay? At the moment. That's a big difference. So, what is the cause? So, if a house is abandoned, No treasure, no secret, no lady is in that house. So if you want to seek shelter, for instance, from rain and things like that, you're allowed, according to this verse. The apparent meaning of this verse, that you're allowed. Okay?
Even if it's owned by someone.
Even if it's owned by someone. This is apparent meaning. Okay, so far until now, it is the apparent meaning. So let's evaluate that now according to our jurisprudence. So what types of abandon we're talking about? They just left it, they don't want it anymore? Of course you're allowed. No hesitation. No problem. But they don't live there. However, they own it, but they don't live there. Still, I'm not allowed. They are not abandoned. So, غير مسكونة, if it means they're abandoned, even if according to law, those houses are owned by people, but abandoned, yes, you're allowed. Correct? But if they are not abandoned, so غير مسكونة means what? Abandoned. If we say that, this is the tafsir, the meaning, the interpretation of this verse, then there's going to be no problem. No contradiction, no breaking of any laws, Islamic laws. And now let's move to the next point. What Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam say. According to a narration that's been narrated by Sheikh al-Tusi, not Sheikh al-Tabarsi, in his Tafsir al-Bayan, he narrates a narration and ascribed that to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, that Imam explained the meaning of غير مسكونة. It's not that that house is abandoned. No, it's not abandoned. So what it is, it's not a house as we describe it, or as we describe it. It's shops or showers, bathrooms back then, or let's say bathrooms on the ways. Not owned by government, owned by people. Especially when you go to Iraq for ziyarah and things like that. Imam says, al-hammamat wal-hanat. Business places. If you want to enter the business place, you don't need to seek permission because you want to do something. You want to take shower and etc. So it's not that it is a house and it is abandoned. We call that, according to Arabic language, a house, but it's not a house. It's what? A business, a place. بعد رايحين الحمامات مثلا العمومية في العراق وشي وكذا، بسوريا العراق كذا. That type of places.
It might look like a house, but it's not a house.
It's not a house. It's not a house. It's a place that usually they give the permission for people to enter there. So do I need to knock knock? Am I allowed to enter? No, it's open. Just go. You don't need to seek permission. So according to Ahlul Bayt, this is the meaning of this verse. So no issues at all. But if we say that غير مسكونة means abandoned, there's going to be no issue as well. Because they abandon. Yeah, it's owned by them. They don't care. I don't care. As if somebody leaves his car, so people can come and take it. Correct? This is called abandoned. بيوتا غير مسكونة. But what is the point here? We have one single most important point, and that is we're not allowed to bother people to enter their houses without their permissions in a way that might affect them. might expose their secrets. Have you heard this narration? Yeah, I've read it in some Sunni books. That's one of the so-called khulafa climbed a wall and saw a woman drinking alcohol or something like that. And he said that I'm gonna do had on you. I'm gonna lash you with lashes. And she said, why? You're breaking Allah's law. She said, well, you've broken 3 laws of Allah. Because Allah said, وَادْخُلُوا الْبُيُوتَ مِنْ أَبْوَابِهَا, and you climbed the wall. Allah said, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا, and you're spying on me. And the other thing is what? 3 verses she mentioned. And I think it was then when he said, كُلُّ النَّاسِ أَفْقَهْ مِنْ عُمَرٍ, even ladies. More knowledgeable than me.
I think looking at a woman or something like that.
Yeah, غضوا أبصاركم. Yeah. Something like that. So, so people, house according to Islam, even according to laws, even a police officer is not allowed to enter the house without a permission, without a court, what? Court warrant, court order. That's important. Because they need to feel safety. سكنا لكم. Okay? A house might be a room as well. Bait. Allah talks about that. ثلاث عورات لكم من قبل صلاة الفجر وعند ما تضعون ثيابكم عند الظهيرة ومن بعد صلاة العشاء. This verse is talking about children if they want to enter the room of their parents. Before Salat Subh, they have to seek permission. Afternoon time and night time. They need to seek permission. عم الرجال جاي يبدل وشفت هذا. So what I'm trying to say, safety, security. This is exactly what Quran is gifting us. Correct? صحيح ولا لا? Any questions?
Sayyid, you said with the abandoned house, there's some houses that are, for example, repossessed, right? You know when the bank comes in and repossesses your house?
Mm-hmm.
So the owners of the original owners of the house aren't the owners anymore. I know, like Shar'an, that's
I won't buy such house.
there's a problem in that inherently, but can you still enter that house?
Can you buy that house? No.
No, can you enter?
No. Without the permission, no.
Because now the bank owns it, obviously.
No, the bank doesn't own it. Confiscated it.
They confiscated.
Yeah. They took the usury and riba and then confiscated. They took the interest and confiscated. According to Islam, the house belonged to that man.
So if you were to buy it, you can't buy that house. And you can't enter it because you can't seek permission, obviously.
Regardless of the person's religion.
Is مغصوب سيد؟
Yeah, regardless.
ينحسب مغصوب مو؟
It's a big problem.
زين سيد، وإذا ما تدري مثلا وش اشتريته؟
ما تدري وش اشتريته، انت مشتري في مال الغير لم تاخذ اجازته. It's a big problem.
يعني افرض مثلا هذا البيت واحد راعي كان مثلا ماخذ من البيت منه.
ما تدري ما يبقى ما تدري لي اخير عمرك ما يخالف، بس if you realize that you have to seek the permission.
لا إذا ما تدري والنوبة افتهمت.
افتهمت خلص بعد مشكلة بتروح ترجع له.
تروح ترجع.
There is a مسألة called تعاقب الأيادي. It's a very hard مسألة. So if somebody steals from somebody and then he sells with the legit contracts, he sells, let's say, the house to another person, and that person dies and his son inherit that house, and then he sells that house. 10. The actual owner of the house can go back to any one of them and take his money. Okay? And that happened in Iraq because Saddam expelled people and used to give those houses to other people.
يعني البيت الأصلي يروح يطالب بشو
أي واحد منا يطالبه إلى حق. Or the other, probably he didn't know. So he has حق, he has to go to the one who sold it to him or the original.
خصوصا دول السفر.
أي هو اللي دول السفر. أي. فأتذكر بوقتها لما صدام سقط Ayatollah Sistani probably issued, ما Ayatollah Sistani, يعني نجف علماء said try to do reconciliation somehow. لأن ذولا هم مظلومين.
صحيح.
Try to do reconciliation, so take your money and go out كذا, so try to do reconciliation, يعني الصلح من باب الصلح. So win-win situation.
يعني مثلا راعي البيت الجديد.
So this house is valued, let's say 100 million Iraqi dinars. Okay, he is the owner. Okay, give him, the owner, let him give the occupier 20 million and take the house. So win-win situation, because that's madlum as well, because he didn't know.
Yeah.
So let's solve the problem. Let's not go to courts. And Allah يرحمه, واحد من بيوتات كربلاء, his house was stolen. He couldn't get it back. It was in Karbala, close to Haram al-Fal Abbas. He couldn't get it back. He told me.
شلون باك؟
صدام طرده بعد.
هو سفرهم.
Say that with the new the Iraqi system, do they have a process for giving it back to these people or no?
What do you think?
Probably not.
Well, I know some people.
Listen, maybe, but it's very complicated, to be honest. Yeah, it's not an easy thing.
My uncle was dealing with something like that.
وصلى اللهم على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
There are some individuals